Writing Test B is which is the personal essay. I'm going to summarize it this way. So I would summarize Writing Test B, your personal essay, as of course first you're going to start with an introduction after you've read the quotes and you zeroed in on one of the quotes that does something for you. And then in the body of the essay, you will seek a social application to whatever quote that you've decided on. And then you'll go for the personal. And yes, this does mean me, I, that kind of personal. Okay, so in the first essay, Writing Test A, it's argumentative. It's very logical that you keep it impersonal, that you use the third person in Writing Test A. But in Writing Test B, I think it is very powerful if you can make the turn. And by the turn, I mean that you talk in a general sense of the quote, you talk about the social implication of the quote, whether it be aging in society or how society deals with beauty, as I mentioned before, or conformity, or whatever. But then you make that turn towards yourself. And that's really why this essay was constructed. It was constructed for this purpose. And this is where you come up with that personal experience or example. Of course, personal, not too personal. You are writing an essay for a stranger and to a stranger. And so, you know, if there's something you've never told anybody in your entire life, it's probably inappropriate for you to put that in the essay. But if it's the kind of personal story that you find would be comfortable to describe to a stranger, a professional stranger, then it could fit in here. And so, and then you have the conclusion. But it's the power of this personal statement that that works in quite well. Let me just, oh yes, I did want to mention about, okay, so now the next step, okay, so this is how you organize the essay. And the next step we get to is to start your writing. And when you are writing, one thing that well, not a lot of students do, but I'm suggesting that you do it, is you should put a title. And your title should not be essay quote number 3. I think you could do a little better than that. And yes, many students do put that as the title, essay quote number 2 or 3, or they actually just rewrite the quote as the title. But I suggest to you that, you know, you try to come up with something, you know, if it's something political, take something from your national anthem and put that as a title, and then put a question mark to be a little subversive about it. But, you know, take something, obviously, you know, in the end, usually the best ideas win for the essays, the best ideas, the best quotes. I don't mean the best quotes, I mean the best ideas win. So coming up with a creative you know, title is intriguing and invites the person into your essay. So I think you should consider that. And then you start writing. So when you are writing, I'm often asked, should I rewrite the quote, yes or no? This is just really, you could do it either way and do quite well. So I'm just giving you some advice. If I saw a short quote, I have no problems rewriting it because it's not bulky, it's not difficult to use within the essay. Of course, you put quotes around it, and you do say who who you're taking the quote from. But if you have a long quote, then that's usually it's not going to get you extra marks to rewrite a 2-sentence quote. So either quoting from the quote, taking parts of it as you deem fit, or just paraphrasing it, I think would be better. So as you write, one of the techniques of good writing is to try to vary the length and structure of your sentences. If you can do that, that will work to your advantage. It makes the essay more, it makes it easier to read and more interesting to read. And of course, the question came up about vocabulary. One of the other things that students who score exceedingly well in this section have is good vocabulary. And often what they have is a few words, about a dozen words in which they have this sense that I will use at least 2 or 3 of this dozen words, or a couple of dozen words that they really like. And so if you use words like existential in your essay, oh boy, that would be something. Or epistemology, yes, that would be quite an essay. And so there are some words that are just beautiful in the English language and are uncommon, and you will see them if you have experience writing essays, or if you do a bunch of essays. You will get the experience of some analogies, proverbs, quotes, some beautiful words, and if you use them in context, of course, then it can be quite powerful. So that's the writing of your essay, and as I said before, if you can get up to 2 pages, that would be a good sign. It's possible to do well with less, but I would have to say that people who score the highest tend to score. I always have to use relative terms because there's always exceptions. There's often exceptions. So then, of course, your last step is to proofread. I do have to say you should proofread your essays because of one important fact. The last thing you want is that you work so hard with your vocabulary, your quotes and whatever, but then you misspelled something, but the spelling in this particular instance changed the meaning of what you said. That's a problem. So you're proofreading really to be sure that you properly expressed your ideas. That's the key part. And do you have the same marker that read both papers? This I can't answer. I don't know. I do know that you have 3 markers. And the 3 markers give independent scores. Then these scores are evaluated, and if the scores are different, are significantly different, even if 2 scores out of 3 are significantly different, then a 4th person scores, a 4th independent person scores the essay, and then that is the final score. And as you know, it follows the same sort of bell curve. I know Acer does not want anybody to use the word bell curve, but it is a bell curve. So it follows the same kind of bell curve as for the other sections. So an average score in this section does run around 56, 57, and then it then you go on to a standard deviation being around 60, 63 would be one standard deviations. So yeah, I mean 2 physical pages. Yeah, so it's less than 2. If you have lined paper, it's less than that. But 2 physical pages, and your handwriting. Handwriting definitely is important because on average, these markers are going to read your essay in about 2 minutes. They're not spending a half an hour reading your essay. They're going to read your essay in about 2 minutes, and they're going to have a sense of your ability to generate ideas and thoughts in a logical way. So if you're going to, if their handwriting is difficult and they skip a sentence or two because of that, wow, that really does affect your score. Actually, 5 quotes are given per section. So, and as I said before, 5 quotes are given per section. You go with your comfort zone. Science students usually can write about 1 or 2, non-science students more. And by the way, I do want to say something about the structure that I've given about this. Sorry, I'm just going to extend this. The structure for writing test A and writing test B, you absolutely have to understand the structure. You don't have to do what I say, okay? Because there are some students who, only if you understand this, they can just blow away the structure and use a completely different way to write the essay and be extremely successful. It takes certain risk, and you have to have a certain experience. For example, for the argumentative essay, one creative way some students have used with experience is that they take 2 quotes, they see who made those quotes during the exam, and then they make their entire essay not thesis, antithesis, synthesis, but rather a conversation between the 2 people who made the quotes. Interesting. Now that's very creative, and I think that's a great technique, but if you don't understand the context of those quotes, the time when it was made, then you can make some really bad mistakes. So that's for people with experience. You can definitely do away with structure. But when you don't have a lot of essay writing experience, you need the structure to be sure that they see that you structured your essay well, at least. So, in terms of generating a blank during the essay, the real solution to that, in my opinion, is after this session that we're having. Let me try to get the web page for. We have a free web page which gives advice for the various sections of the exam, and it gives some advice on one of the books that you should read. You should definitely read. It's called The Meaning of Things. Don't worry if you didn't take that down right now. I'm giving you the website that has the name of the book, and you can it's very easy to get the book, and it has short essays on. Yes, by A.C. Grayling. It has short essays on topical issues. But also here, you'll see that we recommend some newspapers that you should be reading on a regular basis, and a number of other things that you should be doing on a regular basis. Just try to imagine this. You know you're studying for Section 3, right? You know you're going to be spending hours and hours for Section 3. Be honest with yourself. Spend some time on Section 2. Spend a couple of hours a week, at least on Section 2, reviewing material, taking some notes, and just some top level notes, very, very, very brief notes that you see regularly. That's how you prevent yourself from being in the exam and drawing a blank, because you've been going over so many ideas. In fact, by the way, during the exam, one of the things you could do when you're doing your pre-writing is that you just write down the ideas that you've been studying about for the weeks before. You write down epistemology and existential and some quotes that you remember and whatever. So even if it's not really the context yet, just write all those things down, because that will help you to generate your own ideas. So yes. Yes, well, definitely rush for. It's better if you spend a half an hour on each essay. It's really better that way, and hopefully with experience you will be able to do that. But wow, if you get pressed for time, you're just going to write a lot of personal ideas, personal life experiences. Just stick to the personal life experiences because that's something you know very well is your own life, and you know they're looking for it. So then you just start writing about it. This is a question here. Yeah, you can go. You don't have to worry about writing against the opinion of a topic because they give you 5 quotes. And in the 5 quotes, there's always 2 quotes that are opposite to each other. In other words, you can always choose a quote that is following your opinion, more or less. So you're not going to have that problem. Let's see. Yes, so I mentioned to you that you can do things that are just very creative and different. I'm also going to give you a couple of some expressions that I've read from students who were quite successful in this section. Obviously, I get to do this because sometimes students who are very successful in Section 2, but then they come to us to prepare for Section 3 or something like that, like to one of the courses or something. And so I get to read some of the essays, and I'm just going to read a couple of things. I know you're going to think, oh my goodness, that is so cheesy. But it's not about the sentence I'm going to read for you, okay? It's about the context. So it's like I said, you write an introduction, you write a body, and you talk about the social implication. Then you come to the personal. And if you build it up, you can do it in such a way that these sentences have some power. And I'm talking about writing test B, the personal essay. So I'm just going to read a couple of these. One of them, the person wrote, "I was forced to look inward for strength and assurance." Very nice. I had to face my fear, or I struggled with something. What I saw in the mirror, I did not like. Things like that. I think you get the idea. These are very personal statements. These are people coming to confront something about their personality or their persona. Please do not do that in the argumentative essay. That would be highly inappropriate. But in the personal essay, Acer is defining it this way. They're giving you this leeway to proceed in that way. Okay, so we're done for today. I hope you study well. Please go to that web page. Make sure that you you spend some time every week trying to improve.